What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to a live post show here for SmarkOutMoment.com, part of the Smack Talk podcast. It's kind of something I decided to do on the whim. I was not expecting to do the post show as a live thing. We've been thinking about doing this for a little while, and you know what? I just kind of said, screw it, I'm going to do it. Why not? We are going to talk about the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view that just ended. I got some thoughts. I'm hoping that you guys do as well. Anybody in the live chat, go ahead, drop your thoughts of what happened and some of the, title situations that we're going to have going forward and everything. I'm doing this one solo. Rob has a prior commitment. Callum is asleep. I'm sure he is having some opinions right now of what's going on with The Miz and Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre and everything that's happening. I got some positives. I got some negatives. I don't know how you guys are. What are you guys thinking? Are you guys more on the positive side of things? Are you more on the negative? Somewhere in the middle, kind of a mix. I see Bobby Lesnar's in the chat here. I see Marquise is in the chat. I see that my bit rate is very low. I don't know why that's happening. I see that Guest 5 is in the chat as well. Not entirely sure why my audio stream says that it's lower than recommended. Let me know if anything kind of happens here. I should have a fine connection going on. I haven't had any internet issues today, but maybe I jinxed it by doing something completely random, right? I don't know. Drop a comment in the live chat if there is some kind of a thing, some glitch or whatever happening, and I'll try to fix it. Yeah, I guess we're getting some positive stuff. Marquise says Miz is the fucking champ, baby. That's at least one of the positives here. I am a big fan of The Miz. I do really think that The Miz should have won that championship another time, and now he is a two-time champion. But I am not looking forward to some of the things that I think we might be getting on the next couple of weeks, or at the very least, maybe at Fastlane or so. I'm going to bury the lead here. I think WWE did a thing here where they just want to get people talking, and this was just to generate buzz more than anything else. I also don't feel super thrilled with where I think that this is going to end up at WrestleMania, which I think is going to be Bobby Lashley against Drew McIntyre. I think that skips over Sheamus. I think that skips over a lot of other people, and it just does a rematch for the sake of a rematch. I guess, I'm burying the lead a little too much here. I need to talk about, I don't know, the entire rest of the card that leads up to that point. So indulge me as I go back in time a little bit here. I'm going to bring up my notes that I've got. For anybody who doesn't know, what I do is normally throughout this, what I've been doing lately is I've been doing live stream of consciousness kind of stuff for eWrestling News. And, kind of look back on that and see what I was thinking throughout these. We check a couple things in the chat that while I'm at it, we got some couple more people in here. Sniper God and Mr. Clutch, thanks for joining the chat. Literally turned off the pay-per-view after McIntyre won the chamber. Kind of missed the punchline. Yeah. Sometimes you have to wait until that bug at the bottom of the screen is actually like 100% gone based off of like what happens with the Undisputed Era in NXT and everything. We got little goth boy Mike. Let's go, Miz. So people are positive for The Miz. That's very cool. I like that a lot. We started things off with not a whole lot of information about the card. If you checked out the Pay-Per-Viewpoint predictions, you would have known that, and the hot tags, that this was one of those scenarios where they didn't really tell us what the card was going to be for the bulk of it. One thing that we didn't get on here is anything with the Raw Women's Championship. They decided that they were going to ignore Asuka and do all the kind of stuff we've talked about ad nauseum, and set up this Lacey Evans thing, which was clearly just a Charlotte Flair feud, but whatever. And she's pregnant, can't do that. So they said, well, we'll see. And I don't know if you guys caught this, but on the kickoff, Charlie Caruso was like, well, who's going to fill in? I guess we're going to find out. There's going to be developments later on. No developments. No replacement match. Nada. Zip, zilch, negatory, whatever you want to say. There's a million ways to say that phrase. Drop your favorite phrase in the comments below. But they just didn't do anything. And where you've got like a certain kind of level of, I guess you could say like leeway. I get that they don't plan some of these things out. They obviously didn't have it planned that Lacey Evans would get pregnant. They didn't have it planned that Becky Lynch would get pregnant around this time last year. Things happen. I'm willing to give them a little bit of leeway, but if you've got a whole week to figure out another backup plan and you just don't, and then I get the feeling that that's the case with a couple other matches and a couple other things. Are we all in agreement here? This is the road to WrestleMania. This is arguably the one time a year you can't just not plan things out and have backup plans, where you shouldn't do that any time of the year, but now is the time that it's like, okay, these are the 12 matches that we plan on doing. Here's the backup plans, and then let's kick our asses into gear. I feel like that's not being unreasonable, right? Let me check a couple other things in the chat while I'm at it. This event was so unplanned, to be honest. I liked it, but it was way too extreme. Yeah, same kind of points. The second Miz one, this is from Marquise. I said, singing voice, Callum isn't going to like this. Yeah, Callum. See, I don't know. I don't think that Callum is going to go on a huge rant about this. I guess we're going to find out. Maybe this will be a part of our next podcast. We're doing the Live and Let Die review tomorrow. It'll be the next time I talk to Callum. So we might get a little bit of something like that. Well, you guys aren't going to be able to hear the Live and Let Die thing until a couple weeks from now, but somewhere down the line, I'll fill everybody in what Callum's thoughts were if it wasn't that. Real quick plug while I'm at it, since I mentioned it. If you don't know, we're doing a James Bond retrospective. We're watching all the films. For somebody like Callum or Rob, it's mostly for the first time. For me, I've seen them all at least like 3 or 4, if not 15, 20 times a piece. But that's a review to a kill. It's up on fanboysanonymous.com. So if you're a James Bond fan, you want to get into the whole 007 series with us, go ahead and check that out. Show some love over to fanboysanonymous.com as well. You know, hit the subscribe button on that channel, check out the Patreon, follow the Facebook and Twitter, blah, 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 blah. You know, all that kind of crap. I don't need to rant about that. But that'll be the next time that we're going to be talking to Callum, and then it'll be whatever we do for the main event this week. So, I don't know, maybe we'll just kind of have a separate extra dark cast on the Patreon or something for Callum to go off. But I don't think he's going to be super upset about it. I'll get to that. We talk about that a little bit later. Let's see some other things in the chat here. Hashtag Women's Revolution for, yeah, because of the Asuka thing, yeah. Ethan says, didn't watch the show, but saw some leaked results, so I thought I'd hop in. Figured there was some amazing nonsense to do this live. It's not, you know, you're not going to hear me go on this crown jewel sucked kind of rant that I've done before with Brock Lesnar. There was no Brock, so that's one thing. And I do like Brock. For anybody who's like brand new listening to this right now or something, it's not that I dislike Brock. I just don't like Brock as champion, you know? Dan Huff says, only if Dolph Ziggler beats Miz for the title will we get a rant. Now, I kind of want that to happen. And then we need to record the Callum's stuff live. Oh, by the way, thank you to Guest 5 for the, oh my God, what do you call him now? I was going to call him the Snapchat. That's not remotely close to what it is. The live chat, the donation thing, whatever it's called. Super chat. God, Snapchat, super chat. I've slept a little bit today. Why am I being this dumb? Bobby says, Tony, if you could pick the way to go from here for WWE Championship for Mania, what would you do? I will talk about that in a few moments. We'll see. I'm going to hold that for a little bit. But let's talk the kickoff. We did get that whole setup of Keith Lee might not be in this match, and Keith Lee wasn't in the United States title match. Turned out to be one of the most important matches of the card, funny enough. But instead, they decided that they were going to do something on the kickoff. It is the fatal four-way match between Elias, Ricochet, John Morrison, and Mustafa Ali to determine who gets in that spot that Keith Lee was in for that triple threat match. Good idea. You know, I don't like that there were 3 instances of this show that somebody pulled double duty. But, you know, you got to turn a negative into a positive. Gives you a kickoff match. You put some guys on the card. John Morrison got a win. That's cool. I always like that. I like Mustafa Ali. I like Elias. I think he's not one of the main go-to guys that I would be pushing, but I do like that. I do like Ricochet. So I liked that they did this. And that wasn't really too much else going on in the kickoff. The couple of notes that I have going on here, I like that MVP was talking to Billie Kay. She gave him the resume, and she said, here's my resume, here's my headshot, whatever. And he's like, oh, it makes sense that you would want to be in the hurt business because your voice hurts my ears. And I won't be in touch. I thought that was a good little moment there. And other than that, nothing else really much going on for the kickoff. I don't think I have any other notes at the very least. Just mostly John Morrison won, blah, blah, blah. Welcome to the chat, Christopher. Bit late, but you didn't miss too much here. Just kind of running down the card. And if anybody does join in a little bit later on with that, then Marquise with another super chat. The motherfucking Miz, baby. Or should I do it with the Kofi thing? Baby! A little bit more exaggerated. I can't really do it that well. Let's go to the first match of the night. It was an Elimination Chamber match. Technically speaking, all of them were Elimination Chamber matches because it was Elimination Chamber. Huh? Yeah, I hate me too. So my first note from this one was that I was disappointed that they didn't start off with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn together because I thought that might have been fun. I think we were talking about that on either the Hot Tags or the Pay-Per-Viewpoint. But they did start off with Cesaro and Daniel Bryan. Good match. Top to bottom, good match. I didn't really like how they did the promos, and then they cut away, and then they did more promos and whatever. But once you got the match actually started, then they did some good stuff here. I really liked, in particular, there was a little moment where Kevin Owens was shouting out for Cesaro to work on Daniel Bryan's left knee. And I'm like, you know what? Good character work. He would want him to do that. He'd be like, target that so I don't have to. That's one less person. Owens is great. Love the camera work with the Sami Zayn pod thing where he's trying to not leave the pod. Cesaro enters from the opposite end and tosses him around a little bit. I have a note down. I don't know if anybody else had this same thought that I had, but Cesaro and Zayn are climbing up on the chains, and the immediate flashback that I had was there's a section of Super Mario World where you're in Bowser's castle and you have to climb on these things and you're going, horizontally, and you have to flip around a little bit and everything. I was just having a flashback to then, thinking about little me having issues with trying to figure that level out. Good bit with Sami Zayn talking about, why did I say Sami Zayn like that? Sami Zayn. Good bit with Sami Zayn there, trying to work out a partnership with Kevin Owens. Only for Owens to be like, screw you, pal, throw him into the pods, and Zayn just be like, oh my God, what are you doing? I like that little bit. And good moonsault from Kevin Owens. I liked the one-legged swing that Cesaro had on Daniel Bryan's bad leg. Great moment there. Didn't like Cesaro getting eliminated because I wanted him to win. But you know what? I kind of get it. To a certain extent, I get it. It's going to depend, of course, on what they do for Fastlane and whatever. But I see their potential booking philosophy with Jey Uso pins Cesaro and Bryan pins Jey Uso, because they probably knew that people wanted Cesaro to get this match. And then for him not to, if Daniel Bryan were to have pinned him, people would kind of look negatively on Daniel Bryan. You don't want to do that, of course. So if you have Jey Uso pin him, then Bryan pins Uso and Bryan is the savior and you're happy with it. As opposed to he takes out Cesaro and why didn't they just give it to Cesaro? You're still going to be a little bit annoyed if you were still rooting for this with Superman, but you're less annoyed because, well, it's Daniel Bryan. It's not like King Corbin won and a lot of people would be upset. I'd be happy. I like King Corbin. Wouldn't have made any sense, but So I get where they're going. And of course, we all knew where this was leading. Roman Reigns comes out. He ends up retaining the title over Daniel Bryan. Big fan of how they did that. I loved that Daniel Bryan immediately caught him in a S-lock because, of course, Reigns would go for a spear. So he thought his way out of that situation, but he's beat to hell. So Reigns just has to break out of it because he's the fresher guy. He's more powerful to begin with. He's stronger. He does that, beats the hell out of Bryan, chokes him out with the guillotine. Perfect. I would have rather have had Cesaro in that spot. Other than that, though, I say perfect. Some other opinions here. Ethan says Super Mario World reference. Love it. Bobby says Cesaro will get it. Oh no. What's the oh no? For Dan Huff saying they need to stop playing with Cesaro, just give him a title match. I do agree with that. I really hope that he gets the match at Fastlane. Marquis says, I honestly thought this was a very uneventful and predictable. That this was not an A in there. I feel Bryan makes more sense in this spot. I thought for a split second he had him for the S-Lock. For stranger things have happened. Look at some of the other stuff that happened later on tonight. Even says rooting for Cesaro and WWE is a lost cause. Sadly, it seems like it. This really felt like this could have been their time for that, but they didn't. And after Roman Reigns retains the title with relative ease, he gets speared by Edge. So we know that we're getting Edge versus Roman Reigns. I don't think anybody's too shocked about that. Gets people talking. I'm cool with it. I also thought that the slap that Bad Bunny did to The Miz was kind of like, that was rough. Then we went and do one of our more important things for the night, the United States Championship Triple Threat match. We know that John Morrison was in this to replace Keith Lee, and it seems like that was for a particular reason, which was to lose. Bobby Lashley has been looking very, very strong, and that's been going on for almost a full year at this point. He was still doing the Lana thing at WrestleMania, so does anybody remember offhand when he started actually going on this like predominantly more winning streak kind of side of things? Because it wasn't immediately after the MVP stuff, if I remember. It might have been. I mean, he lost to Drew McIntyre and then kind of picked things up after that. But I don't remember if he really was like full-blown winning all the time at the beginning of that. He's lost a couple matches here and there. He's lost a lot of like tag team matches mostly, though. Like they've kept him strong. And we'll dive a little bit deeper into that, but they kept him strong here. He's not the one that lost the title. Matt Riddle wins the title by pinning John Morrison, and I like the match. Good enough. It's just a match, See what some other opinions we got going on here. Cesaro to AEW, they're wasting the ever-living shit out of a man with tremendous talent. Might be. I don't know. I mean, his deal's up pretty soon, if I remember correctly, so maybe the reason why they don't want to give him that push is because they think that he's leaving. We had something far different from Miz. Riddle winning was shocking. I really hope that Edge wins the title, even if it's for a month, like around Extreme Rules. Remember to hit the like button. Yes, remember to hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, hit the applause button, hit the Patreon, hit the join, hit the, I don't know, hit all the things. Probably shouldn't say hit all the things. People start hitting other people or whatever, but hit the things, do the things, the things, subscribe to the things, and follow the things. So we got a new United States champion, Matt Riddle. Not the next champion I thought we were going to get. I thought that was going to be Keith Lee, but Keith Lee was not in this match. And I'm starting to think that maybe what they want to do is Keith Lee versus Matt Riddle. And they maybe thought ahead of time, a little bit too late, but that they thought a little bit ahead of time. And I don't buy that Keith Lee is injured. I don't think that Lee was positioned as an injured sort of kind of case that they normally would do. I think that after Monday Night Raw, they realized that they didn't want to have Lee and Riddle fighting each other quite yet, and they wanted to take him out of the match. And they just hadn't decided how to replace him. They wanted to do something on the pay-per-view because they wanted to get people interested in, a mystery kind of an angle. What are they going to do? How are they going to fix this? That kind of thing. Because WWE, they're doing a lot of this where it's like that J.J. Abrams mystery box type stuff. And I've gone on rants about this before when I've talked about the Star Wars sequels, so I'll save you guys the rants about The Last Jedi and all that. But for anybody who doesn't know, J.J. Abrams was a fan of this mystery magic shop as a kid, and he found this thing called the mystery box, and he never opened it because in his mind, the whole importance of it is that you don't know what's in it. And he approaches that kind of philosophy to his writing and his films and his TV shows and everything of more like the mystery is what's fun, not solving the actual answers that you put up a question and you should solve the question with an answer. J.J. Abrams likes to pose questions and then just go, well, and then leave, kind of. It's what he did with not The Last Jedi, with The Force Awakens, and then that's what led to a complete train wreck of a franchise when it comes to that. So WWE has been doing some of those things in the past year or so, maybe even a little bit more. They've been booking things with the philosophy in mind that if there's a mystery going into the pay-per-view, maybe people will tune in. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. A lot of the times it's very transparent and it seems hokey and crappy and just like lazy and bad writing. And I'm not a fan of it because to me, I think personally, a mystery goes a long way if you only have some mysteries every once in a while. Like, who's going to be the partner, the third man? Oh my God, Hulk Hogan came out and that's a crazy thing or whatever. I don't think that proper storytelling and proving that you are doing your work is to say, we'll figure it out the day of the pay-per-view. And if it's question marks, then people will tune in and will have said, gotcha. Because no matter what, people have tuned in. Oh, we got you to tune in. And now you're either happy with it or you're upset. But if you're upset, you're already watching it. That kind of thing. I think that that's dishonest. I don't like that at all. So I think that they were leaning more towards the idea that it's better if they don't replace Keith Lee, because if they just would have said John Morrison's in the match, which I don't think that he was really necessarily booked for it to begin with either, but if they would have just said John Morrison's a replacement, then what? People might go, oh, well, I wanted to see Keith Lee. But if you wait until right before the pay-per-view starts to go, and by the way, Keith Lee's not in there, and then we're going to replace him with somebody, then people go, all right, well, maybe I'll see who they replace him with. You know, check a couple things in the chat while I'm at it too. Marquis says, I haven't seen any Star Wars, and yet I get off on people writing about The Last Jedi. Again, if you want more talking about The Last Jedi and me complaining about stuff, fanboysanonymous.com. Check it out. I've gotten a lot of rants to do that, and I'm always up for more rants about how the Star Wars movies just completely went to hell. Ethan says the problem with the Abrams strategy is that it works, but only once, because people get annoyed the first time and then get pissed the second time. Very, very true. That's the thing. If you pull a switcheroo on somebody and it's a good switcheroo, then you can do it as many times as you want, and people are going to be like, wow, this is amazing. That's the best thing. You never know what's happening. But if you just leave people in the dark and you hope that they will fill in the blanks, and you run through that with a couple different TV shows, a couple different movies, or in the case of WWE, decades worth of material, and, hours and hours each week, then, Boy Who Cried Wolf kind of scenario. So we got a new champion. It's Matt Riddle. If they don't go with Matt Riddle versus Keith Lee, I really don't know where they're going. Maybe Matt Riddle ends up fighting AJ Styles. There's nothing there, but maybe, we got a couple weeks. Maybe they have something with, I don't know, Braun Strowman against Matt Riddle or something. More than likely, if it's not if it's not Keith Lee versus Matt Riddle, there's probably no plan in place. And they'll probably just go, well, we'll figure it out. It's not like it's the road to WrestleMania or something. Uh-oh. So, is what it is. And then, I'm not gonna give them credit for that, Bobby. Bobby says, but Tony, you don't know how to wait for them to tell the story. Yeah, it's long-term storytelling. The catch here is long-term means until they figure it out at the last minute when they absolutely have to, or until they just decide we're not going to do it anymore. And sometimes that's the story. Like our grand finale to the Liv Morgan love romance triangle, quadrangle, whatever that you want to call that thing. They were just like, oh, it's long-term storytelling. We're getting somewhere. And it's gone. Yeah. You have to wait 5 years. Is that too much to ask? I don't know. Ask Rhea Ripley. That'll make sense in 3 to 4 months, right? Maybe the plan, actually, is that this whole year has been just the unique way that they're building up Braun Strowman to replace Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And maybe Triple H wasn't talking about WrestleMania 36. Maybe he was talking about Braun Strowman is going to replace Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 37. This has been a whole year of long-term, unique way storytelling. So we went to the Women's Tag Team Championship match. Surprise, surprise. The champions retain. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler keep the titles, but not necessarily because Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks were arguing with each other like I thought. Instead, they do a whole thing with Reginald giving a bottle of champagne or a bottle of wine to Sasha Banks, and the referee thinking she's going to use it. Sasha's a babyface right now, so she's thinking, I'm not going to do that right now, and that leads to Nia Jax getting the win there. So I get some fantasy league points. That'll balance out a little bit of my Drew McIntyre loss. But not a big fan of this whole segment. It's just a stopgap. It's just a means to do something for the sake of doing something. Moving on. Actually, not moving on. Why is Reginald a part of this? Why do we have to have the Carmella and Reginald thing continuing after Carmella's lost 2 different title matches? And it's primarily focused on Reginald? Anyway, then we can't possibly be already on the main event, right? Yeah, wow, we are. Huh. Okay. Breezing through this. That led to the WWE Championship Elimination Chamber match. And we started things off with something I thought was pretty funny. Randy Orton in his entrance is, giving a stare down, everybody, mean mugging it. And AJ Styles and Kofi Kingston had some great things here. Kofi's like talking about, your triceps look good today, and I remember you did some push-ups and so on and so forth. And Styles, I forget what Styles had said, but he said something like, mean guy coming here, gonna be staring me down or whatever. I liked it. A little ribbing going on there. What's up, Kaylin? The next note that I've got is that I was shocked that Kingston had eliminated Randy Orton so quick and that there was no interference by Bray Wyatt. I'm not opposed to it because I'm hoping against hope that they just drop this Wyatt and Orton thing. I don't think that that's happening, but the feud does nothing for me. I want that to just be gone. And if this is a sign that maybe they aren't going to follow that up, then amazing, great, go in a different direction. To be honest, at this point, put Orton in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and I would enjoy it more than Wyatt versus Orton. I just don't want that match to happen again. See, I'm not big on repeating feuds that I wasn't a big fan of and that we've already seen multiple times and that we've just seen recently as well. Far be it from me to dislike something that's a repeat of something I didn't like and that I've just seen. So that happened. I liked that Omos or Omos or Almost or Amos or Ama, check your battery. If you get the joke, by the way, leave it in the live chat. If you get that reference, 10 points. It's a random reference. I like that he removed the pod barricade, the one that was holding AJ Styles. Styles wanted to jump in, capitalize on the RKOs that Randy Orton had done, and that was just a neat little moment. I like that quite a bit. Let's go on to the couple other people that are joining the chat. We got Colby in here. We got Peter. What's up, guys? And after that, I was thinking to myself, why is Jeff Hardy still around? Like, why would the guy that's been losing almost everything recently actually not just get eliminated already by now? Well, that was pretty interesting. He gets eliminated, and then AJ Styles pins Sheamus, and I'm thinking, why? What? Surely that's not the payoff for this Sheamus and Drew McIntyre thing, right? But it seems like it is based off of some of the stuff we got a little bit later on. So who in their right mind spends months leading up to this friendship breaking down so that Sheamus could be in a multi-man match and get taken out by Styles? Huh? Now that we know that Drew McIntyre is not the champion, there's no point in Sheamus fighting McIntyre for the title at Fastlane because they can't really do that. He's lost now too. So you're just going to completely bypass that? It's weird when WWE does this, when they have nothing going on and it seems like they're struggling for any kind of creative input. And then suddenly they'll have like 8 ideas and they'll just get rid of everything. And it's like, well, you know what? Why not use some of those ideas when you didn't have any? Like, why couldn't we have had... I mean, of course, it depends on what they do on Raw. It depends on what they do at Fastlane. We might look back on this and it might make sense. I highly doubt it. But I would think if you didn't want to do Sheamus versus McIntyre at WrestleMania and you didn't want to do it at Fastlane and you didn't want to do it at Elimination Chamber, that they should have just done that for the Royal Rumble. Just have Sheamus attack McIntyre in December after the whole TLC thing with AJ Styles. And then do the program then, you know? The hell. I'm going to catch up on the chat a little bit here. What's next for Daniel Bryan? Maybe Bryan versus Roman at Fastlane, then Bryan versus Seth at WrestleMania. I think that we're going to get maybe Bryan versus Rollins at Mania, but we might not necessarily get Bryan versus Roman at Fastlane. It might happen, if not just because they could say, well, you know, if he would have had a regular one-on-one match, then that would have been a different story and, you know, whatever. But then no matter what you do with Roman Reigns, now that Edge has come out and already said he wants to fight Roman at WrestleMania, nobody's going to really care. They're not going to get invested. So I wouldn't have had Edge do that, to be honest. I would have had Edge wait until Fastlane to do that. Dan Huff says, Carlito would have been great in this match. I would have been cool with that. No pun intended. Peter was shocked about Jeff lasting long. Colby says, Jeff deserves one last world title run. He's a good wrestler. I'm not opposed to a Jeff Hardy title reign. Right now, he's not doing a whole lot to go in that kind of direction. The momentum's not in his side, so I was just shocked about it that way. Marquise wants TNA Mafia boss heel Jeff Hardy. I don't want a certain TNA Jeff Hardy at the very least. I know that. Checking the chat. I think Sheamus beats Miz at Fastlane. Drew fights him at Mania and wins. You guys are overestimating WWE, giving them far too much credit. I don't know if it's overestimating or if it's just trying to figure out the methodology of, you know, when people say there's a method to the madness, it's hard to figure out the method sometimes to the madness in WWE. So Sheamus takes out, or gets taken out by AJ Styles. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, McIntyre retains and then the Miz cashes in. Because they did this little setup, this little insert shot, MVP talking to the Miz, and we knew that the Miz was lingering with this Money in the Bank cash in. Eventually that happens. Styles gets a Claymore right to the face, and McIntyre retains. Bobby Lashley comes out, attacks him, lays him out. Miz cashes in, wins the championship. And here's where I'm going with a lot of these things. Again, big fan of the Miz. Very happy he's a 2-time champion now. I don't think this was the right time to do it. And I don't think that there is any chance at all that he goes into WrestleMania as champion. So already I feel like this is a hollow championship because they're doing it probably to get people talking more than they are to go in a certain creative direction, I think. It wouldn't shock me at all if they still have no idea what they want to do for WrestleMania, to be honest. I think that there's a chance. I don't know if I'd say like a 60 chance, maybe 75 even. But it's at least a 50-50 shot that WWE still doesn't have the WWE Championship match figured out for WrestleMania, and this whole thing with The Miz is a means to pop a rating for Raw. And we're all in agreement, I think, probably. Tell me if you disagree with me on this, but Miz is dropping that belt. If not tomorrow night on Raw, he's dropping it at Fastlane. Or, obviously leading up to Fastlane because we got a couple weeks. So it's like next week on Raw or whatever. Nobody thinks Miz is retaining that title past Fastlane, right? Of course, this isn't a full-blown live chat, so I don't know exactly there's a little bit of a 30-second window. But let me know if you think otherwise. At least Bobby says it's a Fastlane. And does he drop it to Sheamus? Does he drop it to Bobby Lashley? Does he drop it to Drew McIntyre? Is this all setting up some kind of convoluted ass method for Brock Lesnar to come back and do something? I highly doubt that one. I'm really hoping it's not the case. But he's not going to be champion, and then they would have to set up something else, and then it's like kind of superfluous to even have him win the title to begin with. If he drops it to McIntyre, then there's no reason for McIntyre to have lost the title other than to get people talking and to just get, a title match on Raw or a title match on Fastlane. Like they did with the Randy Orton thing. It was probably just to get people to go, whoa, oh my God, what's happening? I'll tune in the Raw for the WWE title match. I honestly don't think he's dropping it to McIntyre. Right now, I'm not super thrilled about this. This isn't the type of thing that I would book. We'll get into what I would do. I think it was Bobby had asked that question. I think that Bobby Lashley is winning this championship. And I don't know if I buy into that this being a great idea because it bypasses the Sheamus thing. And I think Sheamus would have been better off in this kind of spot. But maybe they do some kind of a setup where it's like The Miz agreed working this deal with MVP where if Lashley comes out, lays out Drew McIntyre, then The Miz will give Bobby Lashley a title match. And then Lashley beats The Miz for the title. And then we just get a whole new, Lashley is the champion and Drew McIntyre has to earn his way to get the title back because he wins a number one contenders match. Maybe against The Miz, maybe against Sheamus, maybe against both at Fastlane, and then Drew McIntyre beats Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania. Honestly, I don't care. And I like Bobby Lashley. This is the best that Bobby Lashley's ever looked in my mind. But if you're putting the title on him right now just to give it to Drew McIntyre again in, 3 weeks, then what the hell is that all about? I'm also not interested because, to be honest, we already saw Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. Last year, around a little bit, past this point last year, Drew McIntyre beat Bobby Lashley. He was the first guy or the second guy that he had beaten when he was champion. And for it to come full circle like that, I think that only really works if you're telling a story. For instance, I love the Mega Powers. The whole setup of Hulk Hogan being somebody who is helping out Macho Man to win the championship over Ted DiBiase just to lead for the next couple of months up to Macho Man turning heel and then being the one who has to drop the belt to Hulk Hogan. That's a year-long story that is setting something up. I don't feel that in the slightest bit with Bobby Lashley. I don't know if anybody else kind of cares. Maybe it's just me. Maybe other people are like, yeah, but Lashley's kind of cool. So, wouldn't it be cool to see him win the title? And I'm cool with Lashley winning the title too. But I don't know. To me, I'm also getting a little bit worried that we're getting Bobby Lashley against Brock Lesnar for the championship. And that maybe Drew McIntyre's not in the title hunt and he's fighting Sheamus or The Miz or somebody in some kind of a gimmick match. Just to kind of do something, Part of me's really thinking that they're putting that title on Brock again, and that this was the means of, doing that Brock and Bobby Lashley match that Lashley has been pulling for a long, long time. But WWE's like, yeah, but you know what? If we're going to do that, it's going to be for the title. And that means that we want to have Brock as the champion because Brock is the end all be all for their answers to everything. I don't know how many times they've done these, what are they called? The press conferences where it's been like, well, you know, the ratings are down because we don't have Brock, as if Brock Lesnar pops up and the ratings go out to a 10 point something or whatever. We can catch up on this chat a little bit because I've been ranting for a little while. See if anybody agrees or disagrees. Maybe people are completely against my thoughts here. Where am I at? No chance in hell. 10% chance he goes to Mania. I think he drops it to McIntyre, drops it to Drew. We can do Morrison versus Miz, with Morrison winning at Mania. I would hope Miz would hold on to it for a while, but probably not. If this is the end of Drew's main event push, awful. I was so happy to see them with a dominant badass face with a solid run. Lashley has to play his part in all of this. Use your head, people. Yeah, he definitely does. I would like him to have a run, but I don't want him to go into Mania. That's a good point. I think Lashley does win, but I would love for Sheamus to be champion again. So number one contenders match on Raw, McIntyre versus Lashley. Winner faces Miz at Fastlane. If we're talking about what happens, whatever. Okay, so did they... okay, it's a prediction. All right, I was going to say, if they announce that, they might have announced it. I don't know. They might announce some things here and there throughout the night, too. Dan says, don't put that in the universe. I'm assuming that's about the Brock Lesnar thing. The Bad Bunny thing, too. That's another thing. They keep setting up this Bad Bunny and The Miz thing. So The Miz can't be champion. And by God, don't ever consider Bad Bunny winning the WWE Championship or fighting for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. If they do that, I think I'm done watching, to be honest. And that's not just because I don't care about Bad Bunny, but it's just a blatant proof at that point that they do not care about things and they're just getting media coverage, and that's all that matters. Which at that point, bring in David Arquette and do that. You know what I mean? I don't think they're going Bad Bunny in the titles scene, though. I do think that Bad Bunny's going to do something with The Miz. And part of me is also thinking that Bad Bunny is going to cost The Miz the WWE Championship when he loses it to whoever he loses it to. I think they're jumping around a whole lot of things here, and I don't think that they have a true 100% in stone, set for the future type of plan for the WWE Championship. Bad Bunny drops the 24/7 title to Morrison tomorrow. They act like idiots for a few weeks. I'd be down for that. That'd be kind of fun. Worst case I can see happening, Lashley beats Miz at Fastlane, then it's Lashley versus Lesnar at Mania. Yeah, I don't want that. I don't want Lashley versus McIntyre at WrestleMania. I don't want Miz versus McIntyre at WrestleMania. I don't want Miz versus Damian Priest at WrestleMania. And that's not a shot at Damian Priest either, or the Miz or whatever. It's just none of these feel like they are WrestleMania to me. And maybe that's just the way that things are going. Maybe WWE doesn't even care about WrestleMania anymore. Last year we've seen some really crappy things happen at WrestleMania 36. I still, to this day, have no idea why they thought it was a good idea to set up Rhea Ripley to lose to Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. I know this has nothing to do with Elimination Chamber, nothing at all. But, when we're talking about weird decisions and stupid ideas and whatever, that always comes to my mind because I'm like, who in their right mind? You guys have been doing this for decades. Don't you know how some of this stuff works? We as fans know how some of this stuff works, and you're going to make those bad decisions? It's one thing if I don't like somebody and they win. You can't really call it a bad decision. It's just what I don't like. But to me, something like that Charlotte thing was just a bad decision. And I'm really getting vibes of bad decisions for this WrestleMania now. I'm thinking more and more and more. They are banking on Edge versus Roman Reigns. And we've got fans now. And that's it. I don't think that they really care about the women's titles, especially not Asuka. I don't think that they care about, obviously they never care about the Raw and SmackDown tag team championships. I don't think that the women's tag team championships are on their radar outside of maybe they'll do something, I can go and I can plot out the course of WrestleMania 100 times in the span that I think that they don't really pay any attention to this kind of stuff. So what would I do? Question was posed earlier. I wouldn't have done any of this, to be honest. I wouldn't have had The Miz cash in the Money in the Bank. I wouldn't have Bobby Lashley in the title hunt. I wouldn't have Drew McIntyre in this situation with the Elimination Chamber and Sheamus be involved. I probably would have had a completely different whole scope of everything. And you know what? Just for the sake of it, just because we're on a live thing right now, fantasy booking WrestleMania 37. I'm going to look back and see what I did for the fantasy booking, because back at SummerSlam, I had some theories in mind of what I would have liked to have seen them do. So I'm going to save you guys the effort of clicking back on the post, which for some reason has disappeared. Okay, there you go. Now I found it. Huh. Weird. So what I had for WrestleMania, I had The Miz and John Morrison as SmackDown Tag Team Champions. We saw how the draft changed that around. And a match against the Street Profits, Usos, The New Day, Cesaro Nakamura, etc. I had the China Memorial Women's Battle Royal. They're not doing that, of course, probably. I mostly had, let's see what we had here for the WWE Championship. My WWE title match was AJ Styles against Drew McIntyre. So how did I get to that? Okay, I had it before that AJ Styles won the briefcase from Otis, cashed in on Drew McIntyre, and then McIntyre won the Elimination Chamber to earn the number one contender spot. That's where I would have gone back at SummerSlam last year. Clearly different in many different ways, but right now, if you were to tell me, okay, I can only start booking WrestleMania from Elimination Chamber onward, ooh, that's difficult. Miz wouldn't be champion. That wouldn't be the case. Sorry, Miz. Lashley wouldn't be winning it. I think I would use Lashley as a stepping stone, and I mean, they kind of killed the Sheamus thing already, so you can't do that. Strowman doesn't make any sense. Maybe what I would do is I would turn McIntyre heel in some fashion. I'm not sold on this idea. I'm working it out on the spot. Maybe I would have McIntyre win the championship, turn heel, and fight Keith Lee, and Keith Lee wins the championship. I think you need a baby face leaving WrestleMania with the championship this year, for sure. And I don't think that McIntyre winning the title back is as big of a deal, especially if he beats somebody like Lashley, who's just holding the championship for him. I don't think it makes any sense if he beats The Miz. I don't want Brock in the mix. So, yeah, that's tough. They kind of booked it in a corner, though. They kind of have to do Lashley versus McIntyre at this point. There's no real way around that. So I guess, even though this isn't the slightest bit what I would want, I would have Lashley had some kind of a deal with MVP and The Miz. Lashley gets a title shot. Lashley beats Miz. McIntyre wins a number one contenders match against Sheamus at Fastlane. McIntyre fights Lashley at Mania. It's the only way to do it, really. Unless you start getting into the whole idea of, like, you're throwing everything out and you're starting brand new, but we only have a couple weeks, so they can't really do that and not make it seem like it's rushed. Dan says, how about Baszler versus Cole at Mania? I'm still fully thinking Baszler drops that title to Karrion Kross at Mania. And Ethan says, WWE bad decisions, good pay-per-view title. They've had worse. They had Great Balls of Fire. So they've been teasing something for the NXT Champion Mania. Wouldn't be happy with it either. Seth should have returned as face, won the Royal Rumble, face reigns Daniel Bryan. Ethan says, I would have liked to see a full-on monster heel Keith Lee win the Rumble and take it from Drew. I'm still hoping Keith Lee wins that belt as a babyface. Lee, to me, is more of a babyface guy than a heel. And Peter's asking if Goldberg's still in play. I hope not. I really hope not. I don't want... Oh, God. All right, you want nightmare scenario? Bobby Lashley gets this whole thing out of the way, and he's just fighting Drew McIntyre in a know-nothing, do-nothing kind of match because Brock Lesnar beats The Miz, and then Goldberg wins a number one contenders match, and it's Goldberg versus Brock at Mania again. There's pure nightmare fuel with that. God. And then Cain Velasquez. So I'm not feeling all that great about Mania. I mean, I should be, right? Like, this is Elimination Chamber. If anything, this is the time of the year that if you weren't feeling great after WrestleMania last year and you weren't feeling great leading up to WrestleMania throughout the past couple of months, and Royal Rumble was the type of thing where it's like, we're building up to something here. Elimination Chamber is the time to pivot one way or another. And right now, I feel like they're pivoting in a wrong way. I expect McIntyre to beat Lashley for that title at Mania. And I don't like it. Yeah, I should be the head writer and pull a Russo, right? Here's the thing, though. I'm going to steal Rob's phrase. Here's the thing. I think, to be perfectly honest, I think if somebody said to me, pretend that you're Russo and book stuff, I don't think I could do it because I would, like, logic would keep stopping me from doing that kind of ass backwards type of booking. I always want to think ahead. I always want to think, what can we do with everybody? I look at a card when I'm doing my fantasy bookings, for instance. I look at the card and I say, here is all the here's the championships. Here are all the people. Where can I put everybody in? And then how can I work from that point? I don't think WWE does that. And I don't think that there's ever going to be a scenario where I could pull a Vince Russo and just say, bro, just do this, that'll get people talking. Swerve. I'm not a Swerve guy. My name's not Tony Swerve Scott or something. So anyway, that's Elimination Chamber. We're not going to have any idea what this is leading up to until at least Monday Night Raw. To be perfectly honest, I don't think the WWE has any idea where this is leading. Even when it comes to Monday Night Raw, I'm expecting an episode of Raw that's going to make no sense. I'm expecting us to not have any clue what's happening with this WWE title until at least the week before Fastlane. Maybe even Fastlane. Maybe even after Fastlane. You know what? They might not figure out WrestleMania 37 until WrestleMania 38. So just give Vacant the titles. Vacant has won more championships than any person except maybe R-Truth. Maybe R-Truth is still kind of in that ballpark. Bobby says, I have to watch Raw now, though. Yeah. You don't have to be fair. You could have it on in the background, and then afterward you can just check out YouTube, because that's apparently what you need to do for Raw these days. So I'm feeling some positives, I'm feeling some negatives, some just, oh God, just don't please do X, Y, Z. I don't sound like I'm super positive about a lot of things, because I'm really not about the WWE Championship situation at the very least, but I guess we'll figure it out. I mean, I'm sure if I were looking at booking from back in the day, even when I know how things had played out, I probably would have been confused about the way that they did some other things from like WrestleMania 10, for instance, or, maybe back then I would have been like, how do you not have Bret Hart win the Royal Rumble? Are you going to just give it to Lex Luger? And, Bobby says, I guess, but that's why I'm not invested. I'm trying to be invested. They want to get those stocks up, I didn't watch this crap. As long as Tony covers it, you don't need to watch Raw. I suffer the slings and arrows for other people. I watched all of it except for main event. And main event's where I call the line. I draw the line. I call the shots. I call the whatever. Call the spot on the card. Just gonna start spitting out random stuff here. It is hard to get invested without a live crowd. Even with the Thunderdome just kind of being like, this is awesome. It just doesn't feel the same. Now, I remember last year at WrestleMania when I was watching that, I actually had a fake audience playing in the background, because to me, that was the last thing that I could do to kind of make myself feel a little bit convinced. But yeah, I don't feel like this is WrestleMania that we're leading up to. I don't even feel like this is like SummerSlam that we're leading up to. I get this malaise kind of feeling. I hope you guys aren't feeling the same kind of just meh that I am. But we'll figure that out. We'll hang out for a little bit more here. That's the Elimination Chamber stuff. I'll plug a couple more things, but I'll keep the live chat going on here. Plug-wise, at the very least, I mentioned before, the A Review to a Kill podcast on Fanboys. Go ahead and check out fanboys.com. I mentioned the Patreon. If you want more of this kind of stuff, go to the Patreon for both Fanboys and for Smark Out Moment. 2 different Patreons. Obviously, the Patreon for Fanboys is Fanboys. Patreon for Smark Out Moment, Smark Out Moment. But there's the Darkcast tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. Tuesday. The No Way Out episode of the Paul Heyman SmackDown podcast is going to be up. I already uploaded that, scheduled. So if you're part of the Darkcast here, check that out, because Rob and Callum went back. They checked out that show. They did their review of that. What else did not plug? I didn't plug the merchandise shops, TeePublic and Redbubble. Got any t-shirt designs that I should do? Drop them in the comments below. And there are plenty of different other kind of things you can pick up there, too. And what else we got? What are we doing for the main event for this week? Anybody got any ideas of what you'd like to see? Maybe we do some kind of weird thing about Miz cashing in or something. Maybe I just roll with the punches with whatever happens on Monday Night Raw. But we don't have a game plan right now for what the main event's going to be. Kind of not leaning in any sort of direction. I was thinking maybe we could do something that's on like the Hall of Lame kind of thing and do that now, get it out of the way. But I still kind of like the idea of doing that a little bit closer to the Hall of Fame. So probably not Wrestling with the Past. Probably not something like another fan ounce table. We just did the most recent thing, so probably not that. Maybe a Mount Rushmore. We could do that. We haven't done one of those in a little bit. Actually, you know what we haven't done? We haven't done a Superstar Scores. Maybe we'll do that. Got any ideas of what you would like to see for Superstar Scores? Drop in the live chat right now. And, of course, if you're listening afterward, drop in the comments, too. So maybe we'll do that one. Maybe we'll do another live show. This is fun. So maybe just start going live about stuff more often. And do you guys like this, too, by the way? I have been thinking more and more about doing the post shows live. It would help out with some of the editing work, because I'm not going to have to edit this video, of course. And it's a little harder to do the live things because, you know, the audio quality isn't as great, but it's more fun. I get to listen to what you guys have to say about this instead of waiting. And you guys don't have to wait until like 4 a.m. to get this because it uploads too late. Ethan says, wrestling is meh. The world is meh. The world is meh, isn't it? It really is. God, terrible world. We need a new world. Anybody want to get on that? Get the ball rolling on that one. Maybe we can science the shit out of it, like they do in The Martian. Superstar Scores Alicia Fox. You know what? I will say right now, she would do better for me than most people, I think. I like Alicia Fox. She's not gonna pull some Shawn Michaels type of score, but I think I'd be more lenient on Alicia Fox than a lot of other people would. Wrestling is 2020 would be fun. We haven't done our Wrestling is 2020 yet this year. That's right. Now it's Wrestling is 2021. It doesn't work out that way. The Miz Superstar Score. Oh, we haven't done more than, I think the Roman Reigns one was the only one that somebody was like active on the roster that we did. Maybe we do that. That might be. Maybe we lump that into Build or Bury in a way. Maybe we might have something there. You might be leaning in more in that direction. That way we can get Callum's thoughts to kind of rant about some things and Mount Rushmore of worst cash-ins. I can tell you right now, Damian Sandow, King Corbin, The Miz losing the first thing maybe, and no, Braun Strowman's got to be in the mix there with the Brock Lesnar thing. There you go. There's Mount Rushmore. Wrestling is 2020 is we're gonna. I think right now, if I were to say make a judgment call, wrestling is 2020 or Superstar Scores is more high up on the list. So we'll see. Mount Rushmore for best cowboy characters. Cowboy Callum Wiggins. Smoking Guns, JBL, and Bill Watts. I don't know. Kind of blanking on my Cowboys. Walker, Texas Ranger. There you go. Yeah. Okay, nothing else in the chat going on that I am missing out on here. Jimmy Wang Yang. Okay, we'll put Jimmy Wang Yang in there. So that's Elimination Chamber. I guess we'll be tracking some of these stories, and we will hit you guys up with whatever main event that we do this week. Maybe if I've got some ideas, the Mega Maniacs Facebook group might have some kind of a poll up or something. One thing you guys should be aware of, too, that I didn't plug is the Smark Madness tournament. It's coming up this week. It's going to be when I have the first thing posted. I already read up, words. I already wrote up the whole template and everything. That's scheduled to go out. We're going to start getting into the best pay-per-view names of all time on, if I remember correctly, Thursday is when that is scheduled. It's either Thursday or Friday. I'm pretty sure it's Thursday. So that tournament starts. And, yeah. All right. I think I did all my plugs. If I didn't, then plug. The guys aren't here on this one, but check those guys out. Callum is at Wigmeister14. Rob is at Dude Felice. I am at Tony Mango. I've got way too many plates that I'm spinning around, dropping a few of them here and there. So if you hear any shattering, that's what it is. And I guess I'll kind of see you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out for this. Thanks for joining me for the Pay-Per-Viewpoint post-show live edition. And I will see you when I see you, everybody. But for now, this has been another Smark Out moment. And I'm being counted out.